Okay, thank you, everybody.
Good afternoon. I'm going to hand straight over to Adrian because Adrian is starting us off this afternoon.
Right, well, thanks, Helen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Adrian, as Helen just said. I'm part of the steering group and I'm taking us through the first half of the meeting. So thanks for joining us today for the December session of the Carers Space Knots. The session today is going to be focused on connecting in local communities. Social Care Future talks of communities where we look out for one another. Carers UK have highlighted the difficulty of taking time away from the caring role as a major contribution to loneliness, which can leave people feeling trapped and isolated, unable to take part in social activities, relationships, or look after their own health and well-being. We need to make sure that the right help and support is available for carers. So for all of those reasons, we are delighted today to be able to feature opportunities connecting into our local community. We've got 6 guest speakers with us today. Unfortunately, one's had to drop out. So we've got Rob from Nottinghamshire County Council, Community Support Hub and Communities Team. Unfortunately, Maria and Danny from the Community Coaching Company are unable to join us. Jane from Trent Dementia, Bev from Radford Care Group Dementia Support, Peter from Carers Council and Mansfield and Ashfield Carers Support Group, and Jack from Age UK, Wellbeing and Home Digital Inclusion. Before we start, if I could ask everyone to mute their microphones, please, during the talks. And if you could make a note of any questions you have to save them for discussion sections, which will happen in the last half hour of the session. Also, if there are any questions that we don't get a chance to get through this afternoon, or we're not sure of the answer, we will do our best to find some answers and get them sent out via the mailing system or put on our website as well. If you think of something after the meeting, you're also welcome to contact us via the email and we'll look into getting an answer for you as soon as we can. So to start, I'd like to hand over to Rob. Are you with us, Rob?
Yeah, I'm here. Just recovering from a cold, so you'll have to bear with me. It's a bit stuffed up still. I'm going to try sharing my screen if that's all right. Let's try this. Okay, so hopefully you can see that presentation.
Yes, that's visible.
Yeah, is okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Nottinghamshire County Council's communities team and our roles. We'll talk a little bit about the Community Support Hub as well. I'll share all the links from the presentation with the organizer of the meeting so they can get disseminated. If you have any questions, then save them till the end. But it's just a whistle-stop tour, really, because our communities team has changed structure a little bit over the last few months. So it'd be nice to give you a bit of an update. Okay, so can you see, is the screen changing on your screen? You should have like a diagram. No.
Not changing on my screen.
Not changing. Okay, let me stop sharing that screen then. And I'll just pop it over to this one. Okay, is that?
Yeah, that's showing in full with the trading.
The communities function in NCCs on a full screen, I take it.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the new structure for the communities team at Nottinghamshire County Council. So it's in the trading standards and communities team. So we're linked in with trading standards, but within the community section, that's split into two now. So we've got the community side, and I'll go through each of these areas. So the local communities fund and community safety down that left-hand side in a little while. And then on the right-hand side is the new arm of the communities team, and it's the early help and support in the communities. And this new team is under the team manager, Paul Cannon, and he's coordinating some new staff coming into the team, these local area coordinators and community health and wellbeing champion coordinators, which I'll talk a little bit about as we move forwards. So I think we'll start off down the left-hand side. So the Local Communities Fund, it's a discretionary grant aid program. So we don't necessarily have to give out money to communities, but Nottinghamshire County Council's in a good position where we value the communities, and we support not just those local small community projects and groups, but Citizens Advice Bureau, voluntary services, CVSs across our county. It's member-led, so our members are supportive of this, and we support groups and projects with both revenue and capital funded projects. As part of that fund, we also support talented athletes within our county. So if there's any younger people or older people who are in Nottinghamshire who are participating in activities at a county level, national level or international level, they can apply for small pockets of funding to help cover their coaching, transportation costs and equipment costs. And cost of living funds have been added to that as well as we go through this challenging period. Emergency funding has arisen out of the COVID pandemic and now the Household Support Fund cost of living crisis. The County Council wants to support our communities get through that. The Local Communities Fund is a successor of the Local Improvement Scheme, and there's a website, and like I say, we'll share these links where any community group or project can apply. We've simplified the application process now, so that should be a lot more user friendly. So can I just confirm that you're seeing the screens change?
The screens are changing.
Thank you very much. So if we go down a little bit, community safety. So we're obliged to work within the community safety partnership. We have representation from the County Council within our team. Vicky Cropley heads that up, and we work with all partners to try and keep our communities safe. That feeds into the work of the Safer Nottinghamshire Board. And there's agreements with all partners to work together on that one. The armed forces work that we do is led by an officer called Neil Betterson, and there's a really good website on Notts County Council's webpage where you can find out a little bit more information. So if we have any carers that you know about who have links with the armed services or relatives, then they might find this information really interesting. But we work hard as an organisation to support not just the community of veterans, but people within our workforce who have been and served in the armed forces. Moving on, the Nottinghamshire Coronavirus Community Support Hub. So this is an area of support that you may not have come across. So in response to the pandemic and the lockdown, we were getting a lot of vulnerable people across our county saying, you know, I need to isolate and I don't have friends or family, but I need some shopping doing or my dog walking or medication being picked up. So we worked with all our partners, particularly the borough and district councils, to implement this interactive community support hub that sort of catered towards trying to make sure that anyone who had a request for support got that support as quickly and as efficiently as possible. If you see on that screen, the bottom two questions there, it says, are you a person requiring support? Are you currently receiving support from adult social care or social services? Or do you have a disability, mobility issues and continued healthcare? Yes or no. If you tick yes on that one, it goes through to a screen that basically says, give us a ring and contact our service support helpline, and a customer service person will link you up with that support. As far as I'm aware, this system is still live and that link still works. So if you know anyone who's vulnerable in the community who needs a bit of support, our customer service team will help them as best they can. If you ticked no to that question, that you're not receiving any sort of support health-wise, you're not disabled, but you still have a need, you can, it goes through to the second screen where you put in your postcode. You tick what services you'd like support with. So there's access to food delivery, medicine, dog walking, befriending, social well-being, physical well-being, and access to food. And you pop in your postcode and it searches within a 10-mile radius of that postcode all the community support that have signed up to that community support hub. So this includes community groups and projects, community centres, there's service providers on there. We linked in with local farm shops that were delivering food, and even individual volunteers got verified and added to that community support hub. They don't show up on this map if you put your postcode in, but we can access them through the admin side. So it's quite a nice little tool to find out what's on your doorstep for not just support with food, but social opportunities as well. And it's well worth having a little play once you get that link. But if you Google Nottinghamshire Community Support Hub, you'll get the link and you can have a little play with that system. We're looking to develop that system, the Community Support Hub, at the moment. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to try and move that as we move out of the pandemic. But it works so well, we'd like to develop it and promote it as a tool for frontline workers and for residents and support services to get better connected. So at the moment, it's not in a stage where we can shout about it, but when it is, we'll start rolling that out gently with some developments as they go. But maybe once that we're in a position where that first stage of rollout happens, we can maybe come back to this group and ask and reach out to the carers that attend and ask them to trial it for us and feedback, and that way we can improve that service and take on board your suggestions. Okay, and the last section down that left-hand side is the Homes for Ukraine. So the communities team have been working again with partners to support families displaced by conflict, and that help is clearly displayed on that web page, which again is through our Notts County Council website. So we've been helping with housing, bus passes, safeguarding issues, support to the guests, support for the hosts. We've helped them get grants, and even supporting them with their future in the UK. On the right hand side of the communities team is the early help and support in the community. So the first section there is local area coordination, and this is a new post, a new role, and we've recruited 5 new local area coordinators across our county. And I'll show you a map towards the end of the presentation about where they're based. But their role will be to embed themselves within a local neighbourhood of up to 10,000 people in population. So it's not regional, it's very localized, just maybe a couple of estates in a borough or district. And they over time will build trust and build their relationships with that community to the point where if anyone in that community feels they just need a little bit of support, and there is a local area coordinator working in their patch, in their neighborhood, then their first port of call would be going to contact the local area coordinator, and their job will be to sort of listen to that resident, understand their concerns, their needs, but also walk alongside them to try and overcome those issues, signpost if needed, but connect with the community and work with them so they can become their own solution, and be less dependent on services, but also strengthen that community. Community friendly Nottinghamshire is the section I work in. So I've been working with my colleague Steve Smith, there's Lydia Powles as well, for the last 6 years on a project called Community Friendly Nottinghamshire, and we work to empower communities to overcome the issues and concerns that they see on a daily basis in their communities or in their lives. We use a community organizing approach where we listen in an active way to empower residents to get to a point where they're motivated to take action on their own ideas. So that leads to community projects being led by residents themselves and connecting and reaching out with other residents in their own neighborhoods. So we'll go into a neighborhood and we'll talk to as many people as we can. We'll ask them emotive questions like, what do you love about where you live, or what really gets under your skin? And through asking those emotive questions, it brings together an emotion, an emotive response, and it's that emotion that leads to the motivation to think of ideas to overcome those issues, or bring in more things that they want to bring in their communities. So that we've developed over we've worked with the residents to develop hundreds of new community projects, whether it's friendship groups, breakdancing groups, litter picks, dog walking groups, gardening clubs, memory cafes. It's led by the community, so we don't know what their idea is going to come up with, what they come up with. We don't go into a community with an agenda. We're just there to listen and facilitate that resident to come up and connect with their own neighbours to make things happen. So in terms of the impact of that, it can be really a powerful tool and a powerful method to not just give the person we're empowering a new sense of purpose and a new lease of life, but because they're connecting and reaching out with their neighbours, they build friendships, and that helps them in all sorts of ways. When that new community project is up and running, you get all the people attending that group, whether it's a coffee group or a lunch club, and you're benefiting that wider community. We always encourage the ethos that everyone needs to take part. It's not one person running this group, it's trying to find new leaders within the community all the time, and that often has a ripple effect where once one community project is set up, before you know it, there's another break-off group that are setting up something else, and then another group. And we all know that when residents come together and feel supported by each other, they feel happier and they feel healthier, and they live in a community that they want to live in. The Community Health and Wellbeing Champion Coordinators is another new role, and we're recruiting 3 of these coordinators, one in the north of the county, one mid Notts and one south Notts, and we're in the recruitment process at the moment, so they won't come live until spring next year, but their role will be again to link in with residents, anyone, so carers will be included, and aim to recruit people who know a lot of people in their communities. We want to help promote positive health messages but from within the community, we know it will work better. So each health and wellbeing community champion coordinator will have a team, hopefully, of lots of people within their community who they can disseminate information to, and also listen to and get information back. So it's dispelling those myths and false information around vaccines, around health and well-being. It's to help drive those positive health messages across the county. And then finally, we've got the Household Support Fund. So again, this commenced a year ago. It's to support people who are facing food and energy poverty. Again, we've been working in partnership across our boroughs and districts. And the third phase has just gone live. So we will give out vouchers to eligible households towards household bills, including gas and electric and food. And that's ongoing. And again, I'll send out a link where you can find out more information about that. But again, that's to help with our vulnerable residents. So this map is quite a crude demonstration of all those different things on the right hand side of the map, the early help and support. So the blue discs are the areas where the community friendly Nottinghamshire project have done a bit of work in. There's only 3 of us in that team, so again, capacity is quite limited. So we target usually deprived estates. Working with partners, we'll go in to those estates and talk to residents. On the left hand side is the community health and wellbeing champion areas. So like I said, there's North Nottinghamshire, which will be Bassetlaw, Mid Notts, which encompasses Ashfield, Mansfield and Newark and Sherwood, and then South Notts is Rushcliffe and Gedling. And there'll be 3 posts there, and then the red dots are the new local area coordinator positions. And again, I think we've recruited 4. We've got 1 more in Bassetlaw to recruit, and 2 of them have been scoping the areas now for the last month. And we'll start connecting with residents from now. So keep your ear to the ground, and if you see or hear that you're in a meeting with a local area coordinator, you'll know now what their role encompasses, and hopefully you'll work in partnership with them to make a difference in the areas they're working in. So we have a web page on Notts County Council's website. Again, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a support for carers page with lots of drop down tabs with loads of information there about where you can go to get help if you're a carer. So there's the one of the links is to the Notts Help Yourself web directory, which is a fantastic resource we've got across the county, where you can search for social groups, you can search for healthcare providers, care homes. You can just use keywords to type in and then use the filter function to focus in on your area. If you don't have a computer, you can access Notts Help Yourself web directory in any of our public libraries, or you can phone our customer helpline, which is 0300 500 80 80, and our customer service team will use the Notts Help Yourself web directory to try and link you up with that community support. I think I don't want to go on too much more about our role as the county council, but hopefully that will give you a little flavour of all the different things that the communities team deliver within the community. So that's me done. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
We have no questions at the moment in the chat. And we're also, unless there's anybody with anything desperate, if you're okay to hang on till the end of the session where we can cover all of the questions.
Yeah.
Got quite a few speakers, so we make sure we get the others in, if that's all right, Rob. But
Okay.
we look forward to having the opportunity of you coming back and telling us a little bit more. And we look forward to the questions at the end, if that's okay. So I'll bring in Jane from Trent Dementia, if she's there.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm in a similar condition to Rob. I imagine there's a few on this call who might be at the tail end of a cold, so excuse me if I start coughing. I'm Jane Rowley and I manage Trent Dementia. We're a tiny charity in Nottingham. We started in 2004 and we used to run an assistive technology website, which someone else is now running. And we established what we call the Empowerment Project. And I guess our aim really is to work with anybody and offer support to anybody affected by dementia. So that's people with a diagnosis, anyone living with them or supporting them. And what we try and do when people contact us is find the most suitable support that's already available. So we don't try and sort of reinvent the wheel. If there's something out there that fits with someone's area, we'll refer them on to that. And one of the ways we do that is we keep this document called What's On in Knots. You can get that online, and you can also get that, excuse me, as a hard copy posted out. And it's lists of any organisations that give us their details that are running support groups or activities for people affected by dementia. If we can't find anything suitable or someone wants to do something different, then we'll help them to establish activities or groups, which ultimately will be led by people in the community. So we give support with administration and getting organised. We might help people find funding. We've got groups that we've helped set up their own bank accounts and register as a community organisation. One of the most successful groups is in Gedling. It's called Friends for Life, and it's been going for about 5 years now. And they run themselves, and we offer support in the background. And recently we've produced a booklet with people. I'll give the contact details, or they'll get sent out, and it's advice from people with dementia, affected by dementia, for people who are either waiting for a diagnosis or have just had a diagnosis. And it's very Nottinghamshire specific. We do work with people in Leicester as well, but this document's just about Nottingham. And we've also produced posters and flyers, bits of information, which is sort of advice and guidance directly from people affected. So it can be anything from shops that are easier to navigate when you're living with dementia, or it could be about carers groups and carers meals. And as Rob mentioned, what we tend to find is we may help a group or an activity to get off the ground, and then there are kind of break off groups when people meet and to make friends. So one of those is a regular carers meal that runs probably every 6 weeks. So as I mentioned, we help Friends for Life, and we've also got a swimming group, a walking group. We just started a drop-in the city centre, which is going to be monthly from January. We've got a walking group that goes from various places. Oh, excuse me. And we also try and run an annual event for people affected by dementia, and that is developed by a group of people who are all living with a diagnosis. The most popular session we've got at the moment, we have a weekly craft group that's online, again for anybody who's affected, and that runs on a Wednesday evening, and we send out activity packs to people, and we meet and do those online to varying effect. And we also meet once a month in West Bridgeford and do sort of crafts and have coffee and cake and have a chat. And then through the year we do trips and outings, mainly locally, but sometimes a little bit further afield. We also help people who are affected to get involved in research if that's something they're interested in. And sometimes we undertake little bits of research projects, but designed by people, excuse me, living with dementia. So as I said, we're a tiny charity. There's 3 part-time staff. We're really interested in finding out what's available and putting people in touch with those groups, those existing groups and activities. I don't know if I can just share our website if anybody's interested. So all the information is on the website, but there's also a phone number. We've got a desk in the University of Nottingham, but we generally work from home. But you can give us a call and we'll send out the information printed off. So this is the What's On in Notts, which will be updated again in January. So if you have a look at this and your group's not there and you want us to list it, you can just send it to our contact email. Oh, sorry, I'm struggling a little bit. So that's us really. And we don't dig deeply into the diagnosis of dementia. And we do get quite a lot of people through who think that, you know, they're having some problems generally with memory and they're looking for a diagnosis. And also the partners and family members come through. And the best group there to attend is probably the drop-in that we've started at the city centre, where you can meet people with similar experiences, but also we share the information about what's going on locally. So I'm going to finish there because I think I'm about to have a coughing fit, but I'm really open to answering any questions and sharing some more information. But excuse me, sorry.
Well, thanks very much, Jane. And I'm sorry it's that time of year where there's so many people with colds and bits and pieces around. So, but we much appreciate all the information, and we will do everything we can to put that onto our website to make sure it's shared and as widely as possible with everyone. So thanks to all our speakers, and I'll bring in now Bev of Ratcliffe Care Group Dementia Support, if she's available.
Okay, no. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's fine, Bev. Over to you. Sorry, I think you.
Okay, that should be it.
On.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm actually at Radford Care Group, so we're in the city. But I wanted to be part of this meeting to introduce you to what services we do deliver. It does list here that it's dementia support, but we're actually much more than that. And although I know you're a county-wide group, not including the city, we do reach out to residents of all districts in Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. So initially we started our day centre in Radford in 1968, and it offers traditional day care for people with dementia, but also those with long-term conditions. So any carers that do need some respite, we offer day services Monday to Friday, and we don't just restrict it to people living in the city. So anyone that needs support, if they have a loved one that would like to attend the centre, it doesn't matter to us where they live. And if they are applying through social care for a budget, then that's still acceptable to use here, even though we're based in the city. Logistically, we know that it's more difficult for some to come because of distance, but we do, reach out to sort of the Broxtowe district, Beeston, and that sort of area, very within easy reach. not all, that sort of area as well, even Gedling, because there's Arnold within easy reach of us. And we do actually have a few people that attend day service from the outer reaches of Rushcliffe, in the sticks even. So we can provide that support. It's chargeable depending on need. And we will do an assessment here, whether or not a social care assessment's been undertaken. We can do our own assessment pending any future assessment, and we will offer a free taster day. It's available for anyone 50 and over, so with or without a dementia, and we put days together that will look at people's needs. So if it is people with dementia, we try and have them in on a day when we can have activities geared up for people with dementia, but we also have people with long-term conditions, but cognitively they actually, you know, are fine. We also have days and friendship groups where people with no conditions or mild conditions or manageable conditions can also come in and spend time here to reduce that isolation and loneliness. So that's something we've been doing since 1968. So it's not new to us to introduce people to each other through group work. We have, however, just started a new session where anyone can come along, including carers with their loved ones, to what we're calling a Meet Me Day. So it's where lots more activities are taking place, and there's opportunities for people to join in with arts and crafts, even make suggestions or bring ideas of their own and spend the day with us here. And again, carers are welcome to bring loved ones for that. What I actually do, though, because we do look after quite a few people with a dementia, I run a dementia support program for carers. So for carers of people with dementia, I run a 7-week program of learning really about the condition, and it's open there for family carers, families or friends, so unpaid carers, to attend with us for 7 weeks, 2 hours a week, and it's a free program. And we're delivering information about dementia, the different types, the changes that will happen to someone living with dementia, and to support carers to better understand what their loved one is experiencing, so they're better prepared, because the illness will ultimately change that person in time. And it's the coping strategies, learning about communication and behaviours, looking at the business end almost around finances and the powers of attorney and all that sort of thing. And we give them lots of information about local services, and we do now pick this model up and deliver it in county venues. So people are welcome to come to us here when we run it here, and we're going to be running it here on Saturday mornings in February through into March, 10:30 till 12:30. But we're also going to be delivering a session in Eastwood on Tuesday mornings. And after that, we're looking then for another venue somewhere in the county to deliver. So if anyone is interested in us picking this model up and bringing it over to you, we've just completed a programme in Mansfield that we ran for 7 weeks until the end of November. This year we also delivered a programme in Rushcliffe and also in Worksop. So we are out there in the county, opening up to carers again for people with dementia in this instance. But as I say, our centre is open to all, whether it's just for friendship, to join in with each other here in Radford, but we welcome anyone. Hot lunches are provided, by the way, at our day service, as is transport, but at the moment that is only available in certain areas, that goes from here to the local areas NG7, 8 and some of NG5. So that's sort of Woolerton, Bramcote, the Radford and Sherwood area, Arnold, that sort of area at the moment, but we are looking to expand. So quite a lot on offer for carers to, one, give them respite if their loved one wants to attend the centre, that me time, that sort of getting a break, and also support through learning, but that is specifically around dementia. But as I say, not just here, we do bring that programme out to communities. So that's us in a nutshell, really. Any questions?
There are no questions in the chat at the moment, unless there's anything. Thank you very much, Bev, for that.
Thank you.
As I say, if you're okay to hang on, we can have a general session at the end for questions. And
Absolutely.
I apologise once again for my not able to read my own writing. So thanks for correcting me
Thank
there and
you.
getting everybody up to date. So I'll bring in Peter now from the Carers Council and Mansfield and Ashfield Carers Support Groups.
Thank you, Adrian. I've been supporting my son for over 20 years now. He has a psychotic illness, like a very small proportion of our people who suffer from mental health problems have. So there's a very small community. And our role is, I start with the county, with Carers Council first. I'm a treasurer for the Carers Council, but I'm retiring from the committee in January. We provide a service at the moment for people to come to monthly social days, social afternoons in Nottingham at the Mechanics Institute, as was. And we provide occasionally business speakers to talk about developments in mental health, but usually we try and give people some fun activities and we give them the chance to talk about amongst themselves about things that are going on in their lives. So it's very much a support group. Carers Council has been around for over 20 years. It started up by Judith Machin and a small group of dedicated people. And the thing about the people come to our services, it's they tend to be very elderly people, and we don't seem to have, and this is an issue I wanted to bring up, we don't seem to have any kind of real referral process, because there are hundreds of people, carers, who suddenly find themselves in a situation where they don't know what they're doing to cope with the onset of the mental illness of their relative or friend. There are supposed to be in the system set up within mental health systems for carers to be identified and for them to be told what's going on with support. But we find that's very poor service. And I suspect that's the same with our other group as well. We did have a website. We have it on a refrigerator, I suppose, at the moment. It's hiding away because we felt people weren't using it and it needs to be updated. So we're looking for someone who can take that role on. But we spent a lot of time developing it to help carers with COVID problems. But it needs to be updated. And I think the Carers Council as a whole needs updating as well. And we have discussed that over the year. And we try and get carers involved, but that's not always easy because people become very isolated if they're not in contact with groups like ours. The carer group, which I'm also a treasurer for, but I've been involved with them for between 10 and 12 years, I think. There's no record of that. We have a group that has people from the Mansfield and Ashfield area, and on the group, sorry, I should have said the council, there's over 100 members, but the carer group has a membership of around about 15 people, who most of those have been involved with the group for a long time. And we have a social day every month. We'll be doing that next year. And the social day involves, much like we did with the Carers Council, fun, talk amongst themselves, get information about services, talk about their problems, and get support from people. And we have copious amounts of food, cakes and coffee and tea, so people feel comfortable. We had a meeting yesterday and that went very well. But the numbers, because of COVID, have dropped in that group, as they have done in the Carers Council group as well. And we have one of the carer support workers as part of our group, and I forgot the name of the title of that particular person. And she's part of the group and she enjoys the activities and she helps. And if people have problems that they want to talk about privately, then they pop into a corner of the room and have a chat. And we meet at St. Peter's Community Centre in Mansfield, and we get a very good service with them. It's a lovely room. It's got a stage as well, but it's something we value very much. The issues that they raise are, because they're elderly people, very much about they've been caring for people for many, many years. And we find across our group and in the Carers Council group that the people who suddenly find themselves as carers and are identified as carers, there doesn't seem to be much service for them in their localities. So it's hard for people to actually know about us unless they're told about us. So we've resigned our leaflet with the Carers Council in the hope that we can spread our activities across the communities, and we cover the whole of Nottinghamshire. And most of our members tend to be in the centre of that group, about 90%. So we don't stop people coming to the group because of where they live. And we have some people living outside the Nottinghamshire area as well, like Judith Machin, who went up to Scotland. So they're in contact. And I can see Trevor Clower on the screen as well, and he's very much supporting carers. And we need to do more to make sure that those people who do support carers and carer groups are well known. And Zoom meetings tend to be very one-sided. Be nice to see all the faces on the people who've come today, because I know they have a great interest in supporting mental health in general and carer support in general as well. So thank you very much. Any questions? Happy. Hello, Pam. There may be some questions at the end of the session.
Yes, we've had one question just to update the group, or question from Heather to Bev of how does your 7-week offer compare to that which the Alzheimer's Society provide? And Bev's replied with, our programme is much more detailed, 7 weeks instead of 4, and we offer 3 respite for carers, loved ones to come along. So we can perhaps cover that more at the end, if that's okay with everyone. Fine. And we'll move to Jack from Age UK, Wellbeing at Home and Digital Inclusion. Are you there, Jack?
Hello, yes I am. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Brilliant.
Over to
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me today. So I'm an operational manager here at Age UK Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. I oversee 2 services. So it's the 2 services that you mentioned. So firstly, the Wellbeing at Home service, and then the Digital Inclusion programme. I only want to talk very briefly about the Wellbeing at Home service, just because it's a closed referral service, meaning we can only accept referrals from certain professionals, and it only operates within the city council area as well. It's more the digital inclusion programme that I'd like to sort of promote and talk about today. So starting with the Wellbeing at Home service, we are a short-term support service for anyone aged 18 and over who lives within the Nottingham City Council area. We can accept referrals from certain Nottingham City Council professionals. So just to give you an idea, it's professionals who work within the integrated discharge team and enablement team, social care reablement duty team, and a few other departments as well. We support citizens who are referred to us with a very wide range of different support elements. So it can be things like befriending, and it can also be more practical things like shopping, prescription collections, confidence building. We use volunteers and support workers to provide this support. And as I said earlier, it is a short-term support service. So we aim to support each citizen for sort of 6 to 8 weeks with those things. And like I said, it is closed referral routes. So it wouldn't be that anyone here would be able to refer into us, unfortunately. But if citizens go through Nottingham City Council health and care point, then that professional can actually refer into us as well. So that's just the Wellbeing at Home service sort of in a nutshell, but it's the digital inclusion programme that I wanted to talk about. So it's quite an exciting new programme that we've set up. It's been running since sort of late summer this year. And and the program is designed to give service users with no to low level digital skills the ability and motivation to get online and to use devices, and essentially to improve their digital skills. So I think, as you'll all be aware, the world is obviously changing. It has been for some time. Everything's online. If you need to sort out an issue, usually you have to go online to sort it out. And it's becoming more and more necessary for individuals to have access to the internet and to be confident in using technology and the internet. We feel that being more digitally included can help people carry out the activities that mean most to them. So just as an example, staying connected with friends and family, and accessing essential services and information as well more easily and a lot quicker. The program is delivered through we call them digital champion volunteers. So these are all security vetted, trusted volunteers who we take on, and they can deliver one-to-one sessions and group sessions to our service users. Each service user is going to have in place a person-centered plan just to identify what particular digital skills they need to learn and they want to improve on. It might be that a certain person has never used technology before, so therefore they need to start from the basics and then move forward with that. Or it might be that, yes, they've got a device, but they're not very confident with it, and they want to learn things like, for example, online banking, how to do their shopping online and all those other sort of good things. We're also operating a free tablet loan scheme for service users. So for anyone who doesn't have a device at all, or they've got a very outdated device, they can loan for free, so essentially borrow a lovely brand new tablet from us. It will have data, so it'll have a little SIM card with data on it, so they don't need Wi-Fi, because obviously the SIM will give them data, and there's plenty of data on there, and we've got plenty of SIMs to make sure that throughout the course of the program they have enough data on there to access the internet and use the tablet fully. And it's completely free, so it doesn't cost anything whatsoever. So in terms of criteria, so it's there to support anyone who is 50 and over, and they must live within Nottingham and or Nottinghamshire. And then the third criteria is obviously that they've got low to no level digital skills. So we're not here to sort of teach people how to do complex Excel spreadsheets or anything like that. It's very much sort of the more basic skills. We are aiming to obviously target individuals who we've identified as being particularly at risk of digital exclusion. So just some examples of that are people who are on low incomes, those who live alone, those who face physical and cognitive challenges, and those within Black and minority ethnic groups and LGBTQ+ groups as well. In terms of referring to our service, so it's just a case of sending us an email to our digital inclusion email address, obviously with the individual's consent, and then we can contact them and get them on the waiting list to start the digital skills support. We are also looking to recruit more volunteers as well. We'd like to ideally get another 5 or 6 on board. So please do contact us if you're aware of anyone who wants to volunteer to become a digital champion and support older people to improve their digital skills. That's sort of the digital inclusion program in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions, obviously I'm more than happy to answer, and I can put our digital inclusion email address in the chat now so people can make a note of it. And if you do have anyone that you want to refer, or if you want to email me directly as well to discuss, I'm more than happy to put my email address in the chat. And like I said, I can answer any questions now.
Right, well, we have a hand up by Rob.
Yeah.
I'll
Quick question for Jack. Thanks, Jack. Just is Age UK still running the Clicksilver Connections service?
Yeah, so the Clicksilver Connections program is still going on. It's now under the organisation called Business in the Community. So we're still very much associated and we still very much refer into their program. I'll just explain the difference though. So with their program, I believe all of theirs is just telephone support. So they won't get that face-to-face support that we can offer on our service. But I also think with the Clicksilver Connections program, they can help people to purchase tablets. I think they can actually provide them for free as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case with their service. But yeah, the Clicksilver Connections program is very much still going.
Right, well, thanks very much for that then, Jack, and I'll and to all the speakers, my thanks for so much useful information. And I'll pass everybody over now to Helen and James, who are going to look after the open discussion.
Thank you, Adrian, and thank you to all the speakers this afternoon. All the information that people have referred to, we will get up onto the website. It will be distributed by the mailing list as well, which, as James told me earlier today, is now up to about 125. Is that right, James?
Yeah, that's right.
Mixture of carers and professionals. So we are getting a good reach to get that information shared out to people. I'll also we'll make sure the recording goes out as well. So if you missed anything or you want to watch it back or share it with anyone, then you'll be able to do that as well. So we're open for questions. So if anyone has any questions for any of our speakers this afternoon, feel free to put your camera on or put it in the chat if you'd rather. Jane.
Sorry, thank you. It was a question for Jack, actually, about the physical and cognitive challenges, because we've got obviously a lot of people with those kinds of challenges. And how do you work with them to get them online if they've got kind of auditory or visual problems?
Yeah, okay. So there's a number of ways. Obviously, with those who have got those sorts of challenges, we can look to do one-to-one support rather than group sessions in their own home, so it's easier for them. We also have other bits of equipment as well, like a large keypad for those with visual impairments. We are looking into other types of equipment we can get as well, that might be able to help people who have those sorts of challenges, just to make it easier for them to start to learn to use a device.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Pam next.
It was just a generic question to the floor, really, to see whether anybody knew along the lines of the digital inclusion service. Lots of carers struggle financially to own their own equipment to get online. Obviously, this is a great service for those 50 and above. Not all carers are 50 and above. So if there's equivalent services for those carers, or is there anything out there that people do know about for carers who are under 50?
So
Would Rob know maybe, or obviously Jack deals with Age UK.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Task and Finish group for digital inclusion with our partners, and in response to the pandemic, there were opportunities for anybody to pick up free tablets, but that has dried up as far as I'm aware. I'm just sort of scurrying through any notes that we had, but can I get back to you on that one, because if I find any, I'll pass them on to share.
That's lovely, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I also don't really have too much more to add to that. I would have to have a look through my my notes as well to see what else is available. But obviously, primarily the work I do is aimed sort of 50 and over. I think the Click Silver Connections program that Rob mentioned earlier, that's actually the same age criteria as well, as far as I'm aware. If it's not, it's only going to be ever so slightly younger. I can't see it being sort of less than 40, 45. So sorry, I can't really give you any more help.
That's okay. I just tend to work with a lot of parent carers, and obviously that they wouldn't necessarily fit that age group.
Can
Yeah.
I come back in there, Jack? Sorry. I think one of the colleagues before Jack was in post, at the start of the pandemic, we negotiated with Age UK, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire that they would reduce their age criteria to referrals into the Click Silver Connections service to 18 and over. And everyone had agreed to that, but I think the member of staff who sort of led that service through Age UK back then left. And I think it didn't change all the wording on the web page yet. So in terms of business in the community, they're quite happy to take referrals through for 18 years plus to that.
Is that just for Nottinghamshire residents, or is that city as well? Or
it's actually a national program, but they business in the community need a local referral pathway, and Age UK is the only referral pathway in our region. So that was where the issue was, that because Age UK are for 50 people 55 and over, they were quite happy at keeping that age criteria, but actually we negotiated that Age UK would be happy on to reduce that age criteria. I wonder if Jack would be able to follow that up and see if we can get that age limit reduced again for Click Silver Connections.
Yeah, sorry, I'm obviously I don't know too much about that discussion, but I will follow that up, Rob. And I'll feed back to you. Okay.
That's lovely. That's great. Thank you. Because as you're really saying, it is so important that carers can make those connections, and lots of those things these days are digitally, but financially, they can be excluded because tech can be, one, it's expensive, but two, not knowing how to use it can be a barrier as well. So that's great. Thank you.
Our library services were looking into piloting some schemes where people could borrow a tablet as well. But again, I haven't seen that being rolled out as yet. But that would be a nice thing to bring into our libraries if we could make it work.
Good. Yeah, because everything's online, digital, banking and things like that, and being able for carers to do things outside of normal hours when they've got 5 minutes is always wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. We've had a comment popped into the chat from Rebecca to say at Bassetlaw CVS, they can give details of places in Bassetlaw who can support with digital skills. And she's popped the phone number in there for anybody who's in the Bassetlaw area. James and I can find out from the other local CVSs if that's the same everywhere. Potentially it is, because they do tend to have a fairly similar offer. Bev is next with a hand up.
It was just to follow up from the earlier question about the course.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Be okay with, when I say it's more detailed, we do full-on sessions, 2 hours. It isn't a support group, it's much more around learning, although peer support obviously it's a natural progression of being together in a group, but we do cover everything from the different types of dementia, communication behaviours, nutrition, hydration, continence care, infection control, legal and financial matters that I mentioned before, and then a long session on carers' needs and support and what's available to them. And we have guest speakers in during the programme as well. We also differ from the Alzheimer's Society CRISP course, as it's known, with offering the free respite care. So if carers can't leave their loved ones at home or choose to bring them with them, then we can offer that support. usually at the same venue. 9 times out of 10 it's the same venue, but not in the same room. We provide activities and a quiet space for 2 hours whilst the carers are with us. So there's a quite a difference. And of course we can't all be everywhere all the time. So if we're in Radford, Alzheimer's Society may be in Rushcliffe. When we're in Worksop, they may be in Mansfield. So we try and work together to make sure we're not providing courses at the same time, and reaching out to more people, because there's such a need out there. So I think there's enough for both of us to help, really.
That's
Thank
great,
you.
Bev. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to charitable services, we know we do need more than just one, don't we? Offering things out to make sure everybody can access everything that there is. Brilliant. Okay, we've had a couple of other things popped into the chat. So Heather's asked, is there a charge, Bev, for the I'm presuming for the training courses?
No charge for training, no charge for respite. We do ask for donations, obviously, as a charity, but there's no charges, no. Lovely,
Thank you. And Jane's also popped in a guide to using Zoom that was developed with people with dementia, as a link in there. So we will, James, if we can pull that out and pop that online as well. And Rob has also popped on the network map. Is that for the community centres, Rob? For the community?
I think that's a website where you can put in your postcode and it'll bring up anywhere you can access free Wi-Fi, which is quite useful if people want to get online. And there's places like ATTFE, which is a community trust academy run secondary schools, but they have a community offer and deliver IT support as well as cookery classes and other things going on in the community. But there's links on there.
That's lovely, thank you. We'll share that one out as well, James, if we can, please pull all these things out. Any questions from anyone else to any of our speakers? Peter.
Just see if I'm on. People can hear me, yes?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask a general question. I mentioned the issue about we don't seem to get carers being referred from services. They somehow find out we exist. What is the situation regarding other organisations for carers being pointed towards mental health services in particular? That's directed to anybody. You must have experiences, chaps and ladies.
Is there anyone from any organisations here who can talk about where their referrals, where carer referrals come in from, or any carers who've got experiences of being referred to different places that could come in to this point for Peter?
I don't know how to stick my hand up, Helen. It's Yvonne.
That's all right, Yvonne. Hello. All right.
Yeah. So I've just left social prescribing, so I would tell you the pathway, because we basically look at it from a holistic point of view. So, you know, supporting the family and supporting the care of the person that's has been referred to us. And we would tend to signpost people to the Nottinghamshire Carers Hub around the carers stuff. But if they got, you know, sort of like depression and anxiety, which does come along, you know, or a lot of the other contributing things as well, we would actually signpost them to places like Trent PTS and stuff like that. And I know the mechanics, and I know I've been to the mechanics and stuff, like in my former years at Carers Federation. So I used to work with unpaid carers. So it's big on the agenda that you know. So I don't think that many people know about the Mental Health Alliance and stuff. You know, it's I think it needs to get out there a bit more that you're there. So, and also another thing we'd refer to is Mind, because Mind are getting out in the community a lot more and things. So maybe it's just about getting the information out there. So, and I'll try and do that because my new role, I'm now a community development worker. So trying to get stuff up and running in the communities and getting information out there. And I do think it's, especially under the current climate, mental health is massive at the moment. And so I do think it'd be a really good idea, you know, for people to know that you're out there as well, to get that information. So hopefully I will do that as well, get that out there.
So
Does that
Yvonne,
answer your question? That's just from a social prescribing perspective, what we would do, you know. So
sorry, Yvonne, you mentioned that you're now doing a particular role. Which organisation is that with?
I'm with Rushcliffe CBS,
Right.
right? So don't ask me many questions about Rushcliffe CBS. I've only been in the role 7 weeks, right? So, but I'm covering Rushcliffe and Broxtowe Borough. But I don't know if any of you know Abele. She works in Gedling, so she does the same role as me in Gedling. So I can, any information I can put over to her as well. So we cover South Nottinghamshire. Okay, but also I can get that information because my role works alongside the social prescribers. So although I've left them, I'm actually still working alongside them. So I can get that information out there to them as well, and they can take it out into their areas. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Yvonne.
All right.
Trevor.
Yes, I just wanted to mention the trust, you know, Nottinghamshire Healthcare Trust, run what you call a family intervention team through Andrea Emmons. I was at the training session yesterday, well, one of the training sessions. They've got teams of qualified people that do, you know, literally family intervention is if a person in the family is suffering from a mental illness, particularly if they've been sectioned and that side of thing. It affects the entire family. So they're trained to actually talk to the family and help them through their ordeal, so to speak, in dealing with mental health, which is it can be a scary business when you don't know anything about it, basically. And they're very successful. That's within, but obviously it's not something you get referred to. It's something that happens once you're referred, so to speak, by your doctor. It's part of the it's a part of the mechanism. Over and above that, I'm attempting to upload my link. You know, I've just started got it now, to the Carers Roadshow. There are different organisations that's on that listing, 76 videos, all different kinds of support that you can get, and there's quite a few in there for mental health groups and that type of thing, where they specialise in giving people that are dealing with mental health and their carers as well, their family and carers, some kind of advice and grouping and talks and that type of thing, like comfort zones and that type of issue. But you can find them on the Roadshow simply by downloading the Roadshow onto your tablet. Instead of reading a book, read the tablet in bed and just wander down and pick up the first 10 seconds on each video. You'll get a gist of what's available. And it's all up and running, and it's all been well, it works really well. Over 5,000 people have visited the site up to now, and it's you know, it's proved to be a good a useful thing to have a look around to see what it is. I'm always updating and always adding videos to it. People are getting in touch, but it's very local. It's all about local organisations in the local community that's working locally and at ground level, and it's all free basically, and it's free access to the YouTube I've got running. I'm attempting to put the link to it into yeah, it's in now. That's in the there we go. That's right. I just put it in the chat room. That's a link to it that you can use to get to all the videos. And like I say, it works. There's lots of information in there that you can just tap into. That's all I want to say, Bez. It includes mental health, but it also includes the practicalities of life as well that people deal with. You know, life's never just one thing, is it? You know.
Thank you,
Can you-
Trevor. That's
any more
great. And that
questions?
links
Yeah.
in there for
Brilliant.
anyone who wants to take a look at that as well. Thank you very much. Jane.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, a lot of the people that we meet are in very early years of a dementia diagnosis in the family. And something that I've noticed with a lot of people is they don't see themselves as carers. So when Peter said, you know, about referring people, and, you know, I might have conversations with people about the kinds of support they might need or might find useful. And when I start talking about them being a carer, people can get quite kind of uncomfortable and say, you know, no, I don't want to be any trouble, or I'm not a carer, I'm just doing what I would do for my husband or my wife. And I just wondered if anyone got any thoughts about how we approach that with people, and that, you know, there's a lot of labels, isn't there, bandied around for people, but a lot when you actually in groups or just one-to-one and say, you know, how are you doing? You're doing all this care, and someone says, well, no, that's just what, you know, what we'd do. I just wondered if anybody had any thoughts about that.
Thank you, Jane. I think that's an interesting point of conversation. I think a lot of the group will have come across that as an issue in terms of identification, definitely. I'm very happy to hear what people have to say in regards to that one. We won't have an easy answer, I'm sure, because this is something that I know we've talked about for years, for those of us who've worked with carers for some time. Trevor?
Well, you actually got the answer. Just get rid of the darn labels, because nobody likes them. They don't achieve nothing, and it spotlights people that don't want to be spotlighted, and it puts people in boxes. People don't live in boxes, don't get ill in boxes. So forget about labels. If you want to, I'll go out there and see where you can find it. Basically, just knock on doors and have your doors open. We don't want people, you know, pushing against doors when you say, "Oh no, you've got to be this." You know, one of the crazy statements I heard quite a while ago. Now, is your doctor in the city or is your doctor in the county? What a stupid question. I'm ill, for Christ, I want to get it fixed. You know what I mean? So it's, but the political divide is annoying, and I never take any notice of it. The road shows proves that it's both city and county, and it always will be. But it's labels are always a barrier themselves. So forget the labels. You know, you've got a name, use your name. And if you got a diagnosis illness, you go diagnose the illness, chase it up and see who deals with it. Whether you want permission, that you've got to this category, that category, what age you are, anything is meaningless to me. If you want something, go out and get it where you can. That's the answer to it. So I do, that's just me.
Thank you. Bev?
Yeah, just we do address this on our programme. Getting them to refer themselves in the first place, or someone, is the difficult one. But it's around, is there any support there? Have you thought about talking to someone? And then we'd address that in a roundabout way, but we spend quite a lot of time on, do you identify as a carer? How do you feel being a carer? But actually identifying yourself sometimes does open doors for you, as in, if you have that, you're known as a carer, of course, register with a GP surgery as a carer. It then enables you with the vaccines, for example, to be further up the list when it comes to getting those. If with you're a younger carer, getting things like the flu vaccine, which you wouldn't normally have, just getting appointments perhaps a little bit easier. So there are plus sides. So we address it without labelling, but we do say, you know, please come to us for advice and see what support is out there. And then they will in time either acknowledge they want to be called a carer or not. But it's just around signposting them to services, and then we can have that discussion, really.
Yeah, and I really agree with what both of you have said. I think it's just, if a service is called, the names of services matter. I suppose that's what I was thinking about. because there are huge advantages, like you just said, Bev, about GP registration, getting on that list, and all the other kind of carer specific things that happen. But it's a tricky one, and it's obviously one that people have been discussing for a long time. Yeah.
I'm going to run the road shows again next year, and I'm thinking of changing the names from Carers Roadshow to a Caring Roadshow, just to broaden the base. Basically, like, you know, I'm in Yorkshire doing road shows there, and it's going to be called the Caring Roadshow up there. It's just a matter of using the same format that works here in Nottingham, but put it elsewhere. But again, labels are awful, and Caring Roadshow is a label, you know. Like Bev says, you need to qualify for stuff, and the system likes people with labels because it puts them in a category of theirs. It helps them with their system. And I'm not into helping people's systems. I'm into helping people that need the support. Systems doesn't bother me too much. You know, as long as it works for me, then it's a good system. So it is ambiguous, but you just keep, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, it's the conversations, isn't it? I think.
It is.
Peter,
yeah, definitely.
Peter.
Yes, the little hand is not showing very well on my screen, so you might have missed it.
Sorry.
This conversation about the dementia and mental health in particular, in our group, the Carers Council group, people have raised the issue about we're getting older, we're a bit worried what happens if we can't look after our son or daughter. That must be a problem across many different forms of ill health. I wonder what people's reflections are on how you address that, how you get people to think about when they might be dying, which is often a worry that people have.
Anyone want to come in on that with Peter?
With can I just say that I mean, my son's got a learning disability and autism, was born like that, and within that realm of adults with a learning disability, the way I see it, and a lot of others, we've discussed this, and you get the tragedy side as well, like, you know, is to die happily if the person you're dealing with, you're caring for, is living independently, surrounded by people that understand them. Then you know you can die peacefully, knowing that nobody's going to come along and stick them in that big house at the end of the street and, you know, fill them full of antipsychotic drugs to keep them quiet for the next 20 or 30 years. It happens, unfortunately, and the only way you can ensure on that, in my mind, is to get them, to help them to be as independent as possible and get surrounded by a package of care package and everything else. My son lives independently. He gets 4 hours a week independent care as well, which helps him from different points, like, you know, during. But it's that say, okay, and I can die peacefully, knowing that that's not going to happen to him, and to that's a very personal point of view. And I've talked to other carers within learning disabilities, and some agree, some don't, and that's that way, like, you know, you get the you know, the tragic side, which does happen, where parents just take the person with them when they go, basically, because they're just frightened for them all the time. So it's a very serious point what Peter brought up, and there are ways around it, and a lot of it's to attitude, but people need to be informed as well. Discussions like that don't take place very often. I think they should take place more often, basically.
I think, Trevor, that there are quite a lot of discussions around at the moment. There's quite a lot on the national agenda for carers around contingency planning, which I think is where a lot of this fits in.
Yeah.
We can do a bit more finding out as to what that's looking like in Nottinghamshire at the moment, which might be something that this group is interested in, because it's definitely something that has been spoken about more widely at NHS level at the moment, in terms of future planning and contingency for carers as well. So thank you for that. Pam, would you like to come in on that?
It was just basically to answer Peter's question, really, and say about as you were saying, actually, you know, one of the I statements in the new carers strategy is about, you know, planning for my life beyond caring, you know, when my caring role ends or
Or I can no
lessens,
longer, yeah.
or I can no longer care for somebody. And that can happen for all sorts of different reasons. Somebody might go into a home because, for example, their dementia might get too bad to continue being cared for at home, or they might get to an age where they want to move out of home if they've got a learning disability or something, and they decide that that's right for them, etc. So there's lots of different reasons why your caring role might end. And so the new carer strategy coming in next year will hopefully, well, that will cross both Nottingham and Nottingham City, Nottinghamshire and Nottingham City as well for the first time. So we'll have less of the postcode lottery about that. We'll have one consistent plan across those. And so when carers do ring up, there'll be a lot more of the planning involved. There'll be a lot more discussions on contingency planning. What happens if I'm not well? What happens? So those discussions will be about what happens, you know, when the time's right, not only if I'm unwell, as an emergency, if I've got the flu, for example, that's a short-term thing, but longer term, what happens if my loved one needs to not live at home anymore? What happens, you know, if I'm struck by that bus and I can't do it anymore? So that there's not the emergencies, as Trevor was hinting at, you know, because nobody wants to be that worried about their loved one as a carer. That's a nightmare for carers, to envisage their loved one being left in midair. So hopefully, as part of that strategy, there will be more and more conversations about that, and the identification of carers will be easier with part of the services that already exist. It will be about those services becoming much more aware of carers and being promoted to seek out carers within businesses, within where they work, within where they do their shopping, you know, wherever you come into contact with people, there will be carers. And so it will be about identifying those carers, having those conversations, getting them involved, getting those assessments done, and getting those plans in place earlier rather than later. So it was just sort of filling in on that a little bit.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, Yvonne, I'm aware that you've got your hand up, but I'm also aware that it's 1 minute to 3 and we are due to come to an end. We are happy to stay on for slightly longer if anyone does want to continue any conversations for a little bit longer, because we know that, you know, obviously it's a nice space for you to use to be able to talk about different things. But I'm just going to hand to James, who's just going to tell you where you can find information following today, and talk to you about that bit just to finish, because I know people are going to have to leave.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Yeah, thank you very much to all the speakers today and to everyone for coming along. I'm just going to enter our web address for Carer Space Knots into the chat, and that's where I'll make sure that all of the resources from today and a few others that other organisations have sent over that haven't spoken, but they've got some resources they'd like to share, that I'll go up there as well. It was a shame Danny and Maria had something come up, so they couldn't make it from the community coaching company, but I'm going to look into if there's a way we can get in touch with them, and because I know they've got some really interesting opportunities that they'd like to promote. So yeah, all the information and the contact details should be coming out via the mailing list and the website within the next few days.
Lovely, thank you. So if anyone does want to stay on and continue chatting or bringing up any other points or issues they'd like addressing, then please do. We're always happy to hear from you, and if there's any questions that you have around carers or carer services, anything that's provided for carers in the county, then please get in touch. We'll endeavour to get hold of the right person to get answers to you. That's the idea. We want to try and open those lines of communication for you all. So yeah, feel free to stay on now and talk that through if you've got anything that comes to mind. If not, then thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we all wish you all the season's greetings of this time of year, and keep well, and we hope that we will be in touch with you again very soon.
Okay, happy Christmas,
Thank
everybody.
you. Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Take
you.
care of yourselves. See you. Let's all have a better new year. Bye-bye.
Take care. Yvonne, what are you still waiting to join
Yeah,
us? Thank you,
You
my
should
love.
know me, Helen. I like to carry on talking.
No, it's great.
No, it was just sort of because of like my experience with carers
Yep.
and everything else. So one of the things that we would do working with carers, that question comes up a lot about what happens to the person that I'm caring for. So one of the first things is to go to Notts County Council website and get your emergency card, your carer's emergency card. When you phone through to Notts County Council, they will make an emergency plan. So if something was to happen to you, that emergency plan's in place. And I always said, you know, because a lot of people don't have family that are going to support their loved one. And I says, well, it also makes it known that there's nobody there when, you know, if something was to happen to you, there's no one there. So then it would go to adult health and social care and stuff like that. So they will put a plan in place then to support your loved one. So that's the first thing. I also agree with Trevor when he said, you know, get other services involved, you know, make it known to other services, get the person you're caring for involved with other services, even if it's on a small level. That way, you know, that independence is already starting up. And I've forgotten what else now. I had a whole list and then we ran out of time. But there is that support. And also one of the major things that came up is like a lot of people decide that it's a really good idea to leave, say if someone's got learning disabilities or something like that, leave their estate to that person. And actually that can go against them, because if somebody suddenly inherits a house and a load of money, then they've got to start paying for their own care and things like that. So one of the good things would be is to actually go and get some legal advice around building a trust for the person that they care for. You know, so if someone's got mental health issues or learning disabilities, how are they going to manage that care? So they would have to pay for that care. I'm not saying you don't pay for care or anything like that, but it's about building a trust so you've got that, you know, safety net for that person. So that money can go to benefit them for quite a long time. They can live quite a nice independent life, but it's done in such a way that they can still engage with the services until, you know, as we all know, it's not until all the money runs out then that somebody will get involved. So it's about, you know, making the best plan for the person that you're caring for. But first port of call, really and truly, every single carer get a carer's emergency card. I've always said that. No matter what, even if you're only doing a little bit of caring each week, just always have that, because the person you care for depends on you. There was another question as well. So you can't shut me. I haven't been involved with carers for a while. There was another one. I can't remember what it was now. And no, I can't remember. But the Nottinghamshire Carers Hub will pass on that same sort of information. And it's about, so when you're involved with the Nottinghamshire Carers Hub, they look at you as an individual and look at your situation and see who you can be involved with. And so I would really, really advise doing that. Same if you go to your GP practice, the GP practice will probably refer you to a social prescriber, and then the social prescriber would make that referral to Nottinghamshire Carers Hub. Oh, I know what it was. The question about carers as well. How do we identify them? So one of the things that I used to come across quite a lot was people saying, I'm not a carer. And it's like, and I used to say, look, it's a technical term, just the same as you've got a title of Mr., Mrs. or Miss. It's so that people understand. Or, you know, oh, I'm a community development worker. People know what that is, sort of. I'm a painter, I'm a decorator. It's like, oh, right, yes, so you're looking after somebody. So instead of saying, are you a carer, it's, do you look after somebody? You know, so it's just trying to change it around. And then there's a lot of confusion of people saying, oh, well, I'm not a carer because I don't get carers allowance. And there's just, and I just think it's about getting out there and promoting it all. So, yeah, I'll go shut up now. Hope that was enough for now.
Lovely. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you very much.
Right.
Bindi.
Hi, it's just a quick one really, just to let you know that Age UK, we offer a MESOP carer support service. So it's a short-term support service. It's for carers for people with moderate to severe dementia and mental illness, where the cared for person is receiving services through the mental health services, like MESOP teams. So the referral will come through the MESOP team. So it'd be the CMHT or the IHTT one. So I don't know if you was aware of this or not.
We can definitely make sure that's shared. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Anything from anybody else? That's great. Thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon, everyone. We'll make sure everything is shared. Adrian, thank you for chairing and leading that part of the meeting. It's really lovely to have you do that. And take care, everybody.
Take care. Have a good Christmas.
You too. Take care. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a nice Christmas, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Pam. Take care.
Um,
See you soon.